It's another beautiful Tuesday morning. I say good morning to all the dear listeners of Bars 99.3 FM. This is the place where entertainment meets humanity. And I bid you a warm welcome to the program, The Dailies. This is the program where we take you through the headlines and bodies of stories making the rounds via the Nigerian dailies. This morning will be no different as we go through various newspapers together, such as the Daily Post newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and the Vanguard newspaper, respectively. My name is Bamidupe Kolawole. Please stay tuned as we go through some of the headlines of the stories we have this morning. Starting with business story this morning, Dangote fixes petrol price at $0.779 per litre in new pricing template. Away from there, still on the Punch newspaper, Oyebanji retains governing council of Ekiti tertiary institutions. We would also be talking election this morning. INEC denies ADC faction claim of accessing nomination portal. Makinde 6 UN probe into abduction of Oyo pupils and teachers. City Boy movement committed to national development. This is coming from Sheyi Tinubu. Abducted Oyo headmaster regains freedom. That's according to the police. I borrowed 400 million naira to secure PFIPC appointment. This is coming from the fake DG at DME. Alafin visits rescued Orire victim, donates cash. These and many more headlines we have this morning. Now let's go to the bodies of these headlines. Please stay tuned. You're still on to Bars 99.3 FM, and the program is The Dailies. This is a program where we take you through headlines and bodies of stories making the rounds via the Nigerian dailies. Starting with the Punch newspaper this morning, custom blamed 34 trillion naira duty weavers for revenue losses. The Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service, Bashir Adeniyi, has yesterday disclosed that the value of import duty exemption certificate approval granted by the federal government on selected imported goods and equipment rose to 34 trillion naira in 2025, warning that such fiscal incentives have significantly reduced the service revenue generating capacity. Adeniyi made a disclosure during an investigative hearing of the Senate Committee on Finance with Revenue Generating Agencies in Abuja. At the same session, the committee threatened to invoke sanctions against the head of Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, the Industrial Training Fund, the Federal Medical Center (JABI), and other agencies for failing to honor its invitation. Addressing lawmakers, the Custom Board said that government fiscal policy often directly affect the agency's revenue performance, either positively or negatively. He said although the Nigerian Customs Service remained one of the country's leading revenue-generating agencies, it could have recorded higher collection over the years, if not for government-approved duty waivers and other policy intervention. This is coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. Custom blamed 34 trillion naira duty waivers for revenue losses. Talking business, Dangote fixes petrol price at $0.779 per litre in new pricing template. Dangote Petroleum Refinery has fixed the ex-depot price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, at $0.779 per litre, unveiling a new pricing template that also raises the benchmark prices for diesel and aviation fuel following its transition to dollar-denominated transaction. The move signals an end to naira payments for the purchase of refined petroleum products, which began under the federal government's Naira for Crude arrangements that commenced on the 1st of October 2024. The development marks a major shift in the refinery's commercial operation and could reshape pricing dynamic in Nigeria's deregulated downstream petroleum sector, where Dangote has emerged as the country's largest supplier of refined petroleum products. The revised prices, which took effect yesterday, place automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, at $0.942 per litre, while cost of delivery of PMS has been fixed at $1,044.62 per metric ton. The refinery disclosed the new rates in a notice issued to petroleum marketers and customers, stating that all previously issued naira-denominated pro forma invoices and deal recap for gentry and coastal transaction has become invalid. The headline to that story, Talking Business this morning, Dangote fixes petrol price at $0.779 per litre in new pricing template. Oyebanji retains Governing Council of Ekiti Tertiary Institutions. The Ekiti State Governor, Biodun Oyebanji, has approved the retention of the Governing Council of all state-owned tertiary institutions for another term, citing their performance and repositioning higher education in the state. The affected institutions are Ekiti State University Ado-Ekiti, Bamidupe Kolawole University of Education, Science and Technology, Ikere-Ekiti, Ekiti State Polytechnic, Ison-Ekiti, and Ekiti State College of Health Sciences and Technology, Ijere-Ekiti. Oyebanji announced the decision yesterday in Ado-Ekiti while receiving the members of the Governing Council of BOU ESTI, led by its Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Patrick Aino. He said the move was aimed at sustaining sustainability, strengthening institutional governance, and consolidating gain recorded across the education sector. He said the decision would ensure continuity, policy consistency, and sustain progress in the administration of tertiary institutions across the state. He also expressed satisfaction with the performance of the Governing Council, noting that their leadership, experience, and dedication has improved the academic standards and infrastructure across the institution. While noting that its first term would end in October, the governor said it was important to sustain governance structure that has produced positive results. Oyebanji retains Governing Council of Ekiti Tertiary Institution. Talking politics, INEC denies ADC faction claim of accessing nomination portal. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has denied claims by an African Democratic Congress factional leader, Nafiu Bala, and his group that his group gained access to the Commission's nomination portal and uploaded candidates for the 2027 general election. The claim, which was widely circulated on social media, alleged that Bala faction had successfully submitted the party candidate through INEC online portal. Responding to the report, INEC Director of Voter Education and Publicity, Victoria Eta Messi, dismissed the claim, saying Bala was not recognized by the Commission as the ADC national chairman. A review of INEC official political party portal also does not support Bala's claim. The portals list Senator David Mark as the ADC national chairman and Ogbeni Ralph Aregbesola as the party's national secretary, indicating that they remain the official recognized by the Commission for nomination and other official matters. The latest development comes as ADC continue to grapple with leadership disputes, with rival group claiming control of the party ahead of the 2027 general election. Talking politics this morning, INEC denies ADC faction claim of accessing nomination portal. Back to talking business. Fuel price. Nigerian government shut 2 filling stations for sharp practices. The Nigerian government has shut down 2 filling stations, Mobile and Monagabon Energy in Ogun State, for order dispensing fuel and engaging in other sharp practices in violation of the Nigerian government has shut down 2 filling stations, Mobile and Monagabon Energy in Ogun State, for order dispensing fuel and engaging in other sharp practices in violation of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. This comes after the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Abeokuta Field Office, carried an enforcement operation in the state yesterday. The enforcement team, led by the head of Distribution System, Storage and Retailing Infrastructure, Olufemi Adebowale, said the action underscored the federal government's commitment to protecting consumer from exploitation and ensuring strict compliance with petroleum regulation. In his remark during the enforcement, Adebowale said the sealing of the filling station became necessary due to reported breaches of regulatory requirements by the affected operators. Talking fuel price, Nigerian government shuts 2 filling stations for sharp practices. Makinde 6 UN probe into adoption of Oyo pupils and teachers. The governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, has called on the United Nations, UN, and International Human Rights Organization to investigate the adoption of school children and teachers in Orire local government area on the 15th of May. The governor made this known while speaking in a broadcast after receiving the rescued pupils and the teachers in his office in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, yesterday. Makinde said the circumstances surrounding the incident are sufficiently grave and unusual to warrant independent scrutiny. In his words, he said, I therefore, with full sense of responsibility as Executive Governor of Oyo State, call on all appropriate international human rights and accountability mechanisms, including those within the United Nations system, to closely examine the facts surrounding the adoption. Makinde 6 UN probe into adoption of Oyo pupils and teachers. Atiku heads to Supreme Court, insists ADC ticket intact despite court ruling on Congresses. The presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Atiku Abubakar, has disclosed that his legal team has been instructed to approach the Supreme Court for definitive determination of the issues arising from a recent Court of Appeal judgment, even as he insisted that his presidential bid remains on track despite the ruling. Speaking to his senior special assistant on public communication, Frank Shahaibu, yesterday evening in Abuja, Atiku urged party members and millions of Nigerians yearning for genuine democratic change to remain calm, resolute and focused. According to him, contrary to a misleading narrative being aggressively circulated in some quarters, the Court of Appeal did not invalidate the ADC primary election conducted for the nomination of the candidate for the 2027 general election. Atiku explained that the judgment being celebrated by his opponents related only to the conduct of state congresses and the tenure of the state executive committee, and did not, from the facts available, amount to a judicial nullification of the ADC's primary election conducted under the Electoral Act. Atiku heads to Supreme Court insists ADC tickets intact despite court ruling on congresses. City Boy movement committed to national development, says Seyi Tinubu. Patron of City Boy movement, Seyi Tinubu, has said the organization has evolved beyond its role as a campaign platform into a nationwide movement committed to national development and citizen engagement. This is as Speaker has called for stronger grassroots engagement, greater youth participation, and sustained public support for ongoing national reform. This denominated discussion on the fourth day of the City Boy Movement National Retreat in Abuja, as the Speaker urged members to become active ambassador of the federal government's renewed hope agenda. Addressing participants at the opening dinner of the retreat held at the State House, the patron of City Boy Movement, Seyi Tinubu, said the organization has evolved beyond its role as a campaign platform into a nationwide movement committed to national development and citizen engagement. The headline to that story says City Boy Movement committed to national development. That's coming from Seyi Tinubu. I borrowed 400 million naira to secure PFIPC appointments. That's according to the fake DG at DME. Director General of the purported Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, Adeni Adeyemi, has claimed that the 400 million naira allegedly paid to obtain his appointment letter was borrowed, and that those who provided the funds has petitioned the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to recover their money. Adeyemi made the disclosure during an appearance on a televised interview yesterday, weeks after accusing the Chief of Staff to the President, Bola Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila, for receiving the money through an intermediary to facilitate his appointment. Describing the government's response to the controversy as unfair, Adeyemi alleged that certain individuals within the government have subjected him to public embarrassment. Responding to reports that a United States lobbying firm was assisting him in pursuing asylum, Adeyemi said he had no direct knowledge of such efforts and only became aware of them through media reports. Adeyemi also dismissed suggestion that he intended to flee Nigeria, insisting that he remained in the country despite reports claiming otherwise. I borrowed 400 million naira to secure PFIPC appointments. This is coming from fake DG Adeyemi. Adopted Oyo headmaster regains freedom. The Oyo State Police Commanders confirmed the release of a kidnapped headmaster, Matthew Owade, after sustained security operations forces adopters to abandon him. Owade, a 60-year-old farmer and headmaster, was adopted on Saturday evening along the Tesiwaju local government area of Oyo State. The command spokesperson, Olayinka Ayonlade, announced the development in a statement issued in Ibadan yesterday, saying the victim regained his freedom after an intensive joint security operation launched immediately after the incident. According to Ayonlade, persistent investigative effort and coordinated pressure from security operative compelled the kidnappers to release the victim yesterday evening. Police also said Owade is currently receiving medical care before investigators begin a formal debriefing as part of efforts to track down and prosecute those responsible for the adoption. Adopted Oyo headmaster regains freedom. In a related development, Alafin visit rescued Orire victim, donate cash. The Alafin of Oyo, Oba Bimbola Akim Owade I, had yesterday visited the teachers and pupils rescued from captivity following the adoption in Owerri local government area of Oyo State, commending the Nigerian armed forces and other security agencies for securing their freedom. The monarch also donated cash to the victims to support their recovery after the 56-day ordeal. A statement by the Alafin Director of Media and Publicity, Bode Durojayi, said the royal father paid a sympathy visit to the rescue victims at the headquarters 2 Division Medical Services and Hospital, Odogbo Military Cantonment, Ojo, Ibadan, where they were receiving medical attention before being handed over to the Oyo State government. Oba Owade described the successful rescue operation as a testament to the commitment and professionalism of the Nigerian armed forces and other security agencies in the fight against terrorism and banditry. Back to the headline, Alafin visit rescued Owerri victim, donates cash. Federal government urges you to turn plastic waste into wealth through technology. The federal government has urged Nigerian youth to embrace technology and innovation to convert plastic waste into wealth, saying the country's growing plastic pollution challenge presents enormous opportunity for entrepreneurship, job creation, and environmental sustainability. It said the shift from seeing discarded plastic as waste to treating them as valuable resources will accelerate the country's transition to a circular economy while creating new livelihood for young people. The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Abbas Lawal, made the call yesterday at the Digital Peer International Knowledge Management and Lesson Learned event, with the team deploying the power of IT engaged youth in effective plastic use and plastic waste management, held in Abuja. The minister was represented by Senior Scientific Officer in the Ministry Department of Pollution Control and Environmental Health, Umaru Muitala. The event followed the project's closing ceremony held last week in Nasarawa State, where stakeholders advocated stronger policy and stricter enforcement of environmental laws to tackle plastic pollution and promote recycling. Lawal said the Federal Ministry of Environment has partnered DPI from the inception of the initiative, providing technical support, policy guidance, and collaboration throughout the implementation of both phases of the project. Federal government urges you to turn plastic waste into wealth through technology. We have taken over rescued teachers' pupils' welfare. That's according to Oyo State Governor Makinde. The Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde had yesterday declared that the state government has taken over the welfare and responsibility of the released Owerri teachers and pupils until all victims are fully stabilized. Makinde gave the assurance when the military formally handed over the victims of the Oyo State government to the Oyo State government at the Government House Secretariat Ibadan after 56 days in captivity. The governor stated that the government would not allow anything to truncate the education and careers of the recently rescued teachers and pupils from Owerri local government area. Makinde added that his administration will work directly with the affected school to provide immediate medical, psychological, and logistic support to the victims and their families. The headline to that story says we have taken over rescue teachers' pupils' welfare. That's according to Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde. Dear listeners, many thanks for staying tuned and also for staying informed and also for starting your morning with us. Please stay tuned as I bring you more interesting programs all lined up for your listening pleasure. My name is Bamidupe Kolawole.